Most people think becoming wealthy depends on intelligence. Others believe it's about luck. Some blame the economy, some blame where they were born. But after looking at the habits of successful investors, entrepreneurs, and ordinary millionaires, one pattern keeps appearing. It has nothing to do with IQ, nothing to do with having the perfect degree, and surprisingly little to do with how much money you make. Instead, it comes down to one simple test. The strange part is, almost everyone fails it. Not because it's difficult, but because it feels too ordinary to matter. Let me tell you about two friends, Daniel and Alex. Both were 25 years old. Both graduated from the same university. Both landed similar jobs. Both earned almost identical salaries. Both dreamed of becoming financially free. If you met them back then, you couldn't tell them apart. They drove similar cars, lived in similar apartments, ordered the same coffee every Friday after work. They looked like they were on the exact same path. 10 years later, one quietly built real wealth. The other kept asking himself why life always seemed to stay the same. The difference wasn't talent. It wasn't hard work. It wasn't even income. It was how they answered one question. And chances are, your answer to that same question will predict your financial future too. Every Friday after work, Daniel and Alex would meet at the same coffee shop. It became their weekly tradition. They talked about work, sports, vacations, relationships, and eventually, money. Alex always had a new idea. I'm thinking about buying crypto. I heard AI stocks are exploding. The market feels too risky right now. I'll start investing after I get my promotion. I just need to save a little more first. Every week, there was another reason to wait. Daniel's answer never changed. I already invested. That was it. No excitement, no prediction, no complicated strategy. Just three boring words. I already invested? Not because he knew more, not because he was smarter, not because he could predict the future, because he had removed the decision entirely. The money left his paycheck automatically, before he could spend it, before he could talk himself out of it, before fear had a chance to interfere. There was nothing to debate, nothing to time, nothing to postpone. Every month the investment happened whether he felt motivated or not. At first, nothing seemed different. 6 months passed. Daniel wasn't richer. Alex wasn't poorer. 1 year passed. Still no obvious difference. If you looked at their lives from the outside, you'd swear they were making the exact same financial decisions. But they weren't. One was building a habit, the other was building excuses. The strange thing about habits is that they look almost useless. Until they don't. 3 years later, Daniel opened his investment account during lunch. He stared at the balance. It had grown, but nowhere near what he'd imagined. Honestly, he felt disappointed. For years, he'd sacrificed little luxuries, skipped impulse purchases, passed on expensive upgrades, and this was it? Meanwhile, his friends were buying newer cars, posting vacation photos from Greece, talking about designer watches. One of his coworkers had just financed a luxury SUV. Daniel wondered if he was missing out. For the first time, he thought about stopping. He opened his investing app. His thumb hovered over the button that would cancel his automatic contributions. 30 seconds passed. He imagined what an extra few $100s every month would feel like. Nicer dinners, a bigger apartment, more freedom today. His thumb almost pressed the button. Then he closed the app. Not because he suddenly became disciplined, because he remembered why he started. Future Daniel mattered more than present Daniel. That moment lasted less than a minute, but it may have been the most valuable financial decision he ever made. Psychologists have spent decades studying delayed gratification, the ability to give up something small today for something much larger tomorrow. One of the most famous experiments involved children sitting alone in a room with a marshmallow. They were given a choice. Eat one marshmallow now, or wait a little while and receive two instead. The marshmallow itself wasn't important. The decision was, because that same ability appears throughout life. Saving money, learning new skills, building healthy relationships, starting businesses, improving your health, investing. The people who consistently choose tomorrow over today often end up with dramatically different lives. Not because they're more talented, because they keep making the same small decision over and over again. Wealth isn't usually built through brilliant decisions. It's built through repeated, boring decisions. That's the test. Can you repeatedly choose your future self over your present self? Not once, not twice, hundreds of times. Think about planting a bamboo tree. For years, nothing seems to happen. You water it, protect it, take care of it, and the ground looks exactly the same. Most people assume the tree is dead, so they stop watering it. But underneath the surface, something incredible is happening. The roots are spreading, growing stronger, preparing for what's coming next, then seemingly overnight. The bamboo shoots into the sky. People think it grew in weeks. It didn't. It spent years building a foundation nobody could see. Wealth works the same way. The first few years don't look impressive. You're growing roots, not branches. Alex wasn't irresponsible. He genuinely wanted to invest. He simply believed there would always be a better time. After his promotion, after inflation cooled, after interest rates changed, after the election, after one more vacation, after the next paycheck. But perfect moments rarely arrive, because life always gives us another reason to wait. Years passed. Daniel kept investing. Month after month, market crashes came. He kept investing. Bull markets came. He kept investing. Economic uncertainty came. He kept investing. His strategy never changed. Eventually, something strange happened. He logged into his account one afternoon and noticed something he'd never seen before. His investments had earned more money that year than he had personally contributed. He read the numbers twice and then a third time. For years, he had been carrying the entire load himself. Now, his money was carrying part of the weight. That is the moment compounding begins to feel real. Not because it suddenly starts working. It was working all along. You just couldn't see it. One Friday afternoon, Alex asked Daniel a simple question. So, how much do you actually have invested now? Daniel turned his phone around. Alex stared at the number. Not because it made Daniel a millionaire, not because it was impossible to achieve, but because he realized something painful. They could have been standing in exactly the same place. The only difference was time, and time was the one thing he couldn't earn back. That's when Alex finally understood. Time isn't just part of investing, time is the investment. Two people can invest the exact same amount every month. The person who starts earlier often finishes with dramatically more, not because they invested more money, but because they gave their money more years to grow. That's why the real wealth test isn't about math, it's about behavior. Can you stay consistent when nobody notices? Can you keep going when progress feels invisible? Can you ignore people chasing shortcuts? Can you trust a process that's too slow to impress anyone today? Because that's exactly what wealth requires. Most people are searching for a secret, a hidden investment, a perfect stock, a better strategy. But wealth has always been surprisingly boring. It rewards patience more than excitement, consistency more than intensity, time more than timing. If you can repeatedly sacrifice a little comfort today for a much bigger reward tomorrow, you've already passed the test. And if you haven't, the good news is that you can start today. Because unlike intelligence, unlike your income, unlike where you were born, this test can be practiced. Every paycheck, every purchase, every financial decision. The people who become wealthy aren't always the smartest people in the room. They usually aren't the luckiest either. They're simply the ones who kept showing up, long after everyone else got bored. Because success rarely belongs to the person who starts first. It usually belongs to the person who refuses to stop. So here's the real question. When life gives you the choice between comfort today or freedom tomorrow, which one will you choose? Because your answer may already determine your financial future. If you enjoyed this story, let me know in the comments. Do you think you're more like Daniel or Alex? And if this video made you think differently about building wealth, consider subscribing. Because sometimes the smallest decision you make today becomes the reason your life looks completely different 10 years from now.